James. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Nice bow. Speaking of bows, Lions bowed out of the playoffs a little bit earlier than a lot of people were expecting. Lions, Commanders, my worst beat in, I think, podcast history. Definitely worst beat in real life. I am a Lions fan, and I went in the emotions chart. I don't know if you've seen one of these emotions charts where it breaks things down to tell you how you're feeling. I felt sad, but I felt disappointed, and that's why I felt sad. Very disappointing hearing Bill Belichick and a lot of other prominent head coach figures in the NFL say, hey, your coordinator shouldn't be taking interviews for other teams, especially in division, while you are on a playoff run as the 1 seed. Even if it is your bye week, it shouldn't be happening. It's a massive distraction. And I'm thinking, so money-wise, there was like 90% of the money on Lions money line for this one at like minus 500. I want, my spidey senses are like, I think that might be a little bit fishy, but I think really what the sports book knew is when your coordinators are taking these interviews, they're taking a lot of time out of their regular schedule to devote to researching, preparing, and actually being a part of the interview, even if it is a Skype situation. And obviously none of the Commanders coordinators had that. So a big failure in the head coaching position as well, having those coordinators take those interviews that they didn't need to take. They were the two front runners for a job anyway. The teams that got them were going to wait, whether they interviewed them or not. And obviously the 4th and goal or 4th and 2 from the 5-yard line, 12 men on the field. Obviously that's a big Dan Campbell thing. Had 3 timeouts, not like he couldn't have just taken a timeout there and lived to fight another day. Instead, they take the penalty and ends up cost them in the end. They score, I think, with a Brian Robinson run 2 plays later. Special teams got dominated as well. Lions kept on taking dynamic kickoffs out of the end zone. Commanders kept on tackling them inside the 25, inside the 20 in 1 or 2 instances. The opening kickoff was kicked out of bounds. Other than that, the Commanders were flawless in their victory. This was my worst beat of the season, though, because I went on a 4.5-minute soliloquy on how good Amik Robertson is and how he's just going to take out Terry McLaurin, and Terry McLaurin has no chance of hitting his over of 60 some odd receiving yards. 3rd play of the game for the Lions defense fractures his humerus, and his backup, who I was expecting to play at the time that we recorded, was not ready. Rakestraw, the 2nd round pick behind Terry and Arnold, wasn't ready to play this game. Vildor, unfortunately, was. And I think on the podcast, we said we might be better off just playing Amik Robertson with one arm. Just cut the arm off and send him out there over Vildor, because sure enough, the very next drive, screen pass in Vildor's direction. He gets blown up. Terry McLaurin, 58-yard touchdown to the house, which pretty much covers that over by itself. And I lose this bet, James. So I'm not going to take this one too hard. I think this was very unlucky for me to lose this bet. So despite me losing, that's gambling, baby. We celebrate the wins when we don't deserve it. And we kind of be like, yep, that's just gambling when we don't deserve to lose too, James. So what do you think about this game, the Lions and the Commanders?
I mean, you're past the denial on the grief circle there, so at least that's good.
There was overnight, I woke up, I'm like, Lions are still in the playoffs. legit. I'm like, I think we still got a chance.
Losers bracket. We're in the losers bracket.
Yeah, fight our way back.
Oh man, I had an interesting experience watching this game because I was at a friend's promotion party, and I could only see they had one TV in the entire restaurant, and I could only see it if I had to peek my head around my buddy's head and the floral arrangement that was in between me and this TV. And I saw that the Lions were up 7-0 in the first quarter. And I remember I had over 7.5. I saw the Gibbs run to like the 40, and I was like, sweet, I'm good. And then I looked back at the TV later, and it was halftime, and I was like, oh no, what happened? Yep. So that was my experience. Other thing I'll say on this as well, a little Alabama story for you. Nick Saban fires coordinators if they take interviews during the postseason. Lane Kiffin, that is how he got fired at Alabama, was he was taking interviews before the national championship game. So, lesson to any head coach out there: if you hear that your coordinators are taking interviews, you might as well fire them because they're not going to be doing good enough for you anyway. And that's how Steve Sarkisian became offensive coordinator at Alabama. So, there's a little fun story for you.
That is a great story, James. And speaking of which, that exactly kind of goes into what I was going to say. The reason you didn't cover that first quarter over for the Lions, you had over 7.5, right? The reason you didn't cover that is because on 3rd and 2, when Jahmyr Gibbs, I think over the course of the game, I have it later in my notes, I think he was averaging like 7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And don't even talk about the number 2 running back of the game, who was averaging, I think, 61 yards per carry, in Jamison Williams. They decide inexplicably to not even have Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield. They had an empty on 3rd and 3 in the red zone when they were running the ball at will all game before and after this play. So they don't even threaten with the play action. They don't even show a look where they can run. And sure enough, the defensive line pins their ears back. They're like, this is, I mean, obviously Jared Goff isn't going to run a draw on this play. Pin their ears back, run downhill, get the sack, get the strip, and get the fumble. And that was kind of the bad decisions that were made from Ben Johnson throughout the game. Had a couple of awesome trick plays that worked really well. The one with Teddy Bridgewater to Jamison Williams on the end around, brilliant. Having Teddy Bridgewater in for his last play of the game, throw a couple of blocks. Why wouldn't you kind of mix it up when the Commanders, again, are pinning their ears back waiting for like a draw play, something kind of boring? So that was a brilliant move. And then the pitch forward pass from David Montgomery, who I do trust passing the football for the Detroit Lions. That was a brilliant play. That worked amazingly. And then turn around and put the game. I think Ben Johnson took that interview and he missed the, hey, let's not have Jamison Williams make any tough decisions for us this game. You know, let's not put the ball in Jamison Williams' hands to throw it this game. He missed that meeting, James.
Yeah.
So anyways,
not the best.
Any more thoughts on the Lions, Commanders?
No, I'm trying to look at the passer ratings, because now I didn't realize that. Yeah, so David Montgomery ends with the highest passer rating for the Detroit Lions. Teddy Bridgewater, second highest passer rating, and third, Jared Goff. But fourth, Jamison Williams with a 0 on his passer rating. So
not good. Not good, James. Had to click deselect eligible quarterbacks on that one. That's what took you so long.